Hi girls, Mr. Gilmore here with another one of these videos. Today we are going to begin with ratio and proportion. So we're starting into a new chapter. That's chapter 11 in your books. So on our first lesson, and for this one we're just going to introduce the concept of expressing two things in the form of a ratio. Okay, so imagine, just as an idea, I've got a set of marbles here, okay? And I've got 3 red marbles and I've got 6 blue marbles. Now, I could express that as a ratio. So for each 3 red marbles I have 6 blue marbles, right? So how would I express that in what we call a ratio? Now, this is just a way in which we express two relationships. So the idea here is the ratio between two things should remain constant, but we can manipulate it and we can use it to kind of solve a problem. So what we would say is, okay, we've got 3 red, right? And we've got 6 blue, okay? So if we were asked to show the ratio of red marbles to blue marbles, we would write down something very, very simple, something just that would be a 3. That's a badly drawn 3, I'll redo that. A 3, a colon, so these 2 dots, and then a 6, okay? So 3 for every 6. 3 red for every 6 blue. Now, that's the ratio of red marbles to blue marbles. The ratio of blue marbles to red marbles would be just it inverted, okay? So we've got 6 blue marbles for every 3 red marbles. Now, the idea here is we're not only seeing, okay, we've got 3 red for each 6 blue, but also if we just split this into 3 portions, right? If we just go, wait a second, having 3 red marbles for every 6 blue marbles would be the same as having 1 red marble for every 2 blue marbles. So we can simplify that. We can make that as simple as possible, and we can say, okay, for every 1 red marble we have in this bag of marbles, we've got 2 blue. So the ratio of red to blue is 3 to 6, or you could express it as 1 to 2, or really any relationship where for each 1 red there's 2 blue. So I could say, actually, the ratio is the same as something as simple as 5 to... Sorry, I'll redo that a little bit. I could say the relationship is the same as something as different as... Let's say if I had 7 red marbles, how many blue marbles would I have if for each 1 red marble I have 2 blue marbles? Well, I'd have 14, right? So normally we want the answer in our simplest form because mathematicians like things as simple as possible. So we're going to say 1 to 2 as our simplest form. What would be our simplest form for this second part here? Well, okay, so the ratio of blue to red, it's 6 to 3, or we could see, okay, that's the same as saying 2 blue marbles for every 1 red. Notice here that I'm actually just doing a small operation on both sides of this ratio. So you remember with equations, we could add or subtract to both sides of an equation. We could multiply or divide to both sides of an equation. With a ratio, we can also multiply or divide, but we can't add or subtract. So we can divide both sides of this equation by 3 and get 2, 1. Now, if you don't immediately get that, don't worry. I'm going to go through a few other examples. I'm also going to note that all the other examples I'm going to give are actually parts of questions that I'm going to give you for homework. So if I see that, you've made a mistake on something that I actually gave as an example, well, that's a big red flag for me that you haven't watched this video, isn't it? Okay. So let's look at this second one. The shaded area as a proportion of total area. So here we have our shaded area. So we can see, okay, that's about 2/6 of this total area, isn't it? Like you can see, okay, 1 part, 2 part, 3 part, 4 part, 5 part, 6 parts. And we're looking at it as a total area. So the shaded area is 2 out of the total 6. What did I say? We like to simplify these things. So let's simplify that. And we can see, okay, if we divide both sides of the equation by 2, sorry, both sides of the ratio by 2, we'll get 1/3. And you can also see 2/6 of an object is the same as 1/3. So ratios and fractions, they can be very, very similar in how we deal with them. Okay, so let's say I'm given a few ratios and I'm asked to simplify them. I'm actually just going to move this down a little bit just to give myself some space, and we'll get onto that question in just a second. Okay, so I'm asked simplify 15 to 5, 25 to 40, 1/2 to 1/4. Okay, so 15 to 5. Do we have what would we call this? A number that divides both of them. Really, we're looking for what we remember our highest common fraction here. Okay, so we're looking for the HCF, or highest common fraction. So what's the highest common fraction of 15 and 5? Well, that's 5. They both can be divided by 5. And after I simplify that, well, I can see, okay, 15 divided by 5, that's 3. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Let's look at 25 to 40. What's the highest common factor of 25 and 40? Well, the highest common factor is 5 again. We're lucky here. It's the same for both. So we go, okay, 25 divided by 5, that's going to be 5. 40 divided by 5, that's 8. Our final question here is a bit different. Here we're being given fractions. We have to simplify this. So what we'll want in this case is we'll want whole numbers, won't we? So now we're not finding the highest common fraction, but we're actually finding kind of the lowest common multiple of the two divisors. So we can see, okay, if we change this 1/4 to 1, okay, we can see, okay, if we change the quarter to 1, we're multiplying this side by 4. So we'll also have to multiply this left-hand side by 4. So 1/2 multiplied by 4. I'll just jot that down here. Let's multiply that out. Well, you'll end up with 1/2 multiplied by 4. That's 2. So 2 to 1 ratio. Okay? Almost all your questions are going to be like this. But I'm just going to give one more question here. And this is a fish pie question. So here's where we're using ratios in a real world situation. We're given a fish pie that serves 4 people. And we know how much haddock it takes to serve 4 people, but we don't know how much haddock would be necessary to serve 6 people. Well, we know there's a ratio of 500 grams per 4 people. Okay. So what would be the ratio for 1 person? So we can go, okay, there's 125 grams per 1 person. So I'm just going to label this just to keep track of things. Per 1 person. Okay. So for 6 people, so what I've done there is I've divided both sides by 4. So 500 divided by 4 is 125. If I then go and try to find it for 6 people, so 6 people, I'm now multiplying my right-hand side by 6. So I have to multiply my left-hand side by 6. So 125 multiplied by 6, that's just 750 grams. Okay, let's have a look at our next question here. We're looking at, and if there is any point where you're a little bit confused, stop the video, look at the question yourself. Feel free to contact me on any problems you might have. How many eggs are needed to make a fish pie for 12 people? Okay, so we know that there's 2 eggs will serve 4 people. Okay, so we need 2 eggs per each 4 people. So for 12 people, well, we can realize, wait a second, this right-hand side is multiplied by 3. So the left-hand side has to be multiplied by 3. So 2 by 3, 6. 6 eggs. Fantastic. Next one here. Part 3. How many grams of potato are needed to make a fish pie for 10 people? Okay, so we've got 800 grams of potato for 4 people. We can't just multiply 4 by a number and get 10. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to try to find one person again, like we found with our first section here. So how much potato is needed per one person? So we need to divide both sides by 4, as we did with question 1, with part 1. And 800 divided by 4, that's 200. So 200 grams per one person. So for 10 people, now we're multiplying both sides by 10 to get our 10 people. We'll get 2,000 grams, or you could also convert that to 2 kilogram per 10 people. Either one of those answers would be fine in my eyes. The back of the book might say differently, but I would say either one of those two would be perfectly fine. So, final part. If a fish pie contains 150 grams of butter, how many people would it serve? Okay, so this is a bit different because now what we're doing is going, okay, if we had 150 grams of butter, how many people would we need? Okay, so we're trying to find that unknown here. So first off, I think our easiest approach is to look at the number of grams of butter per one person, and we should be able to figure it out from there, shouldn't we? So 60 grams works for 4 people. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to find it for one person. So we've divided the right side by 4. We divide the left side by 4, so we get 15 grams. Okay, so 15 grams is one person. 150 grams, well, you can probably see it for yourself immediately. 150 grams is 10 times 15. So that will be 10 people, right? Fantastic. I hope this video has been helpful to you girls. I've also been trying something different with the audio. Let me know if it's clearer, if it's less clear. It'll just help me make better and better videos for you girls. Either way, let's get started into some work. So on pages 252 and 253, can we do questions 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so it is a good bit of work. That'll be due for Wednesday. It is a good bit of work. It is worth you girls doing it though, just because it'll help you girls kind of figure out a lot of this stuff. If there was any part that you'd like to review over, you're more than welcome to pause the video, rewind it, look over any of the work that I've done. I'm just going to have this in frame all for you girls. So you can pause it here and you can have a look over the solutions. And I would say actually like write down these solutions because, again, I'm not telling you which questions I've gone through, but I'll know if you haven't watched the video if you get the wrong answers for the questions I've gone through. Fantastic. Thank you very much, girls. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.